Hello and welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast, another podcast, unfortunately, to dissect a defeat, but it has been a busy week in the world of Wolverhampton Wanderers. Lots been going on, lots to look forward to, hopefully, with the transfer deadline, but delighted to welcome two maybe familiar, maybe unfamiliar faces for some. We welcome back Kieran New from the Old Gold Pack, and making his Talking Wolves debut, we've got Sutty, Keith Sutton. How are you, mate?
Living the dream, Dave.
I can tell. No, I appreciate you jumping on. I know you've jumped on, or both of you are regulars on other podcasts as well, so I appreciate you taking your time to chat with me as well today. And Key, welcome back as well. Thanks for jumping back on.
Yeah, no worries. It's a pleasure as always to jump on. Obviously, lots to discuss.
Yeah.
Let's not talk too much about the football yesterday.
Yeah, I know. The regulars. Let's say I know George's still away in America at the moment. The other boys are busy as always. Yeah, I suppose we better get that Bournemouth game out of the way, chaps. 2-0 defeat for Wolves. I was hoping that we'd see somewhat of a sort of bounce back after last week's defeat. But Sutty, it was a strange game of football. I mean, I had a very, very brief chat with you yesterday evening about it, but the amount of chances Wolves had, I suppose that's why Wolves are at the foot of the table, because they can't put those sort of chances away.
Yeah, well, I suppose it just shows the lack of quality in the finishing areas for us, and creativity as well. There's very little creativity. I mean, Gomez and Andre, separately great players, and if they had a creative player alongside them, I think they'd look much better as well, to be honest. But up front, we huff and puff, don't we? You know, Tolu did a great job of holding the ball up and bringing people into play, but that finishing touch where you got to hit the back of the net, it's woeful, isn't it? And that is ultimately why we're where we are.
Yeah, I know. It was one of those, Key, I thought for Tolu as well, it just seemed to be one of those afternoons for him, to be honest. I mean, the goalkeeper, could you argue, made a great save, or has Tolu got to be putting that in the back of the net for that big chance in the second half? There was a couple of chances where, you know, he sent a couple of defenders packing at one point and then put it over the bar. But it wasn't just him as well. Strand Larsen missed a great chance. He should have put that in the back of the net as well. And like Sutty said there, I think that is a huge reason why Wolves are. The lack of creativity is one thing throughout the season. I don't think you can argue yesterday, I think it was there because there were clear-cut chances. But, you know, we are desperate to have a different type of profile maybe coming before the end of the deadline, aren't we?
Yeah, I think, you know, if you look at the scoreline, you'd think that it was a little bit more comfortable for them than it actually was. I don't think it tells the full story, but it's one of them when you're down at the bottom of the table, things just aren't going your way. Opportunities just aren't going in, hitting the post. Strand Larsen missing that opportunity. Tolu missing a couple. It's just sod's law that's the way it is. Nothing seems to be kind of falling our way. You know, we don't seem to have had any of that luck that, you know, we've had in previous seasons where, you know, opportunities will go in or, you know, something will kind of go our way. But it's not looking great at the moment. But like I said, I think it kind of flatters Bournemouth a little bit. Kind of makes it seem like they were kind of all over us, but that wasn't really the case. I thought that we played all right at times. I think, you know, we are still lacking, obviously, somebody that can finish, which is going to be interesting over the next couple of days to see where that goes. But I think from an opportunities point of view, you know, we're putting the ball in the right place. It's just nothing's falling for us, and I think that's really the story of the season for us. Well, more recently, anyway.
Yeah. We hit the woodwork at some point as well off the set pieces. Yeah. We were, you know, in terms of the amount of efforts on goal, you know, we put a lot of pressure on them. But like you said, Bournemouth, I think they had 4 shots on target. 2 of those ended up in the back of the net, and that's the difference. It doesn't really matter whether you play Manchester City or Crystal Palace or whoever is down here with us, Nottingham Forest. You know, the thing is, if you want to be a Premier League team, you've got to be more efficient in front of goal. And even when games that Wolves have been on top, they haven't been good enough in front of goal. Sutty, defensively, Wolves seem to have sorted themselves out a little bit over the last few weeks, probably since after Christmas, really. We do seem to be a little bit more organised. I think you mentioned João and Andre earlier on. I think they struggled for me, I think, yesterday. I think it's no surprise we looked slightly better in the Everton game, the West Ham game, when you've got someone a little bit more attacking in the midfield, when you've got Arias, you know, in that holding midfield role. I think going back to what you said, someone like Angel Gomez looks like he may come in, But the future of those two, I think we love them individually, great people, great players, but we need something else in that midfield area, don't we?
We definitely do, yeah. I mean, the back line, like you've just said, it's pretty settled now and it looks good. So I think Santi Bueno, I mean, you got Pelters last year. I said a couple of years ago, to be honest, on another podcast, if you get the right players alongside him in the middle of a back three, he looks really calm and really assured. I mean, Aguado come in yesterday for Krejci. He did perfectly well. But for me, the big thing yesterday was young Rodrigo Gomez coming in on the right, because he offered us a far more attacking outlet than Jackson does. Even though Jackson's rapid, he's no good on the ball. He's pretty shocking, to be honest, on the ball at times. But Rodrigo Gomez plays football with a smile on his face and always wants to attack. Now, you might not get as good a defender out of him as Jackson. Obviously, Jackson is great at his recovery runs and tackles and what have you. But for me, Rodrigo Gomez is the future if you're going to play that system, especially next year, because let's be honest, we ain't getting out of this mess. So I think he's the one that could fill in that right wing back role, and hopefully we can keep hold of our other left wing back as well, and Spurs don't keep sniffing round him. Because I think then you could have a settled back line, and if you don't concede, you don't lose, do you? We've just got to add little bits to it and hope it's not a full sort of rebuild, as it were, and everybody goes, because there are snippets of something that could be half decent in the Championship. We know the ones that are going to go, let's be honest. We all know who's going to go. But we have to keep a core of something there. And if you can start at the back, then it should be a decent start to add to.
Yeah, I agree. I think we know that there's a core of the squad that Wolves, behind the scenes want to keep. I have no doubt Rodrigo's probably towards the top end of that list. He's been a little bit unlucky with injuries this year. Hopefully that works in our favour. Although he does have probably a good run of games now where he could prove himself to suit us. But like you said, Sutty, I think he's a player that is enthusiastic. You could tell he wants to play football. He enjoys his football. I think even you look at that game against Leicester last year, I think he scored the 4 for 4. The game was done and finished, and he celebrated like he just won the World Cup, the way he celebrated that goal, because he just loves playing, he loves scoring goals. But I agree. I mean, what is the first 10, 15 minutes yesterday, he probably done more going forward than I've seen from Jackson throughout the majority of the season. And he put the ball, I'm not going to say on the plate, but, it probably should have been cleared earlier by Bournemouth, but, unlucky to be offside. And, Mane's unlucky not to give us a lead yesterday as well.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, obviously, talking about Mane, because I think Premier League managers have definitely doubled up on him in the last couple of games, and I think we've started to see that kind of come through. But I said on another podcast recently as well that we needed to be cautious around this kind of time coming, and people being aware of Mane's what he's possible of achieving. So absolutely got no knocks for Mane and everything. It's just obviously been a little bit more difficult for him to do it. But yeah, I thought we were unlucky with the offside yesterday. But it's one of them. We now really need to look like Sutty said. We're not getting out of this. It's just impossible. Like, nothing's going our way. Nothing's looking like we're going to achieve kind of anything. The only hope that we've got left is the cup, and Grimsby will probably do us in that as well. So, but I think we now need to look towards kind of next season and really hope that players like Rodrigo Gomez, like Mane, are going to be able to kind of stick with us and see what we can achieve.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree on Mane. It'll be very interesting. He's going to be here now between now and the end of the season, which is great. It'll be very interesting to see what comes in for him in the summer. Hopefully he adds more goals and goal contributions. I think he was unlucky yesterday, because I think yesterday was a sort of game, I think it was set up like the West Ham game, where you go and get that early goal and Wolves probably go out and see out that game and get the 3 points, to be honest. I think that's just how it went. And I think we're just a little bit sloppy ourselves, just in possession at times. Like we've already mentioned, Andre and Joe Gomez. Hwang, again, just I actually didn't dislike his forward runs and sort of trying to break the lines a little bit, but in possession, he just almost rushes it for me. He's a quick, instead of maybe taking a touch, try and bring other players into play, first time passing, and that's not his strength. And he allowed Bournemouth a couple of chances where he just gave away possession too easily again yesterday as well.
Yeah, and Andre, I counted 4 or 5 misplaced passes yesterday in the first half. And then you can see, you concede, and the lad next to me said, you watch his football now, it'd be like a hot potato. Nobody wants it. And you can see it, that the confidence just drains from them, and it's horrible to watch, but it's becoming too regular, and you almost become numb to it, where, you know, like under the Nuno years, when we were up against anybody and everybody feared us because we were that side that was the potential banana skin to a top 6 side, and nobody wanted to come to Molineux. If we lost, I was devastated for the week. Now, I just got so used to this last 4 years of circling that plug hole, as it were, that it's become an accepted feeling almost, and it's like that all around the ground, to be honest. Molineux is not Molineux as we've known it in the past, and in the past we'd get behind them and that, but we don't really cling to any of them, as it were. You know, we don't sort of, it's like there's nothing there. That's really sad to say, but it does feel like we don't have a connection with them.
Yeah. No,
it's unfortunate, but these things happen to most clubs out the top 6 from time to time. Everybody will have a flirtation and go down. Newcastle did it a few years ago. Went down, come back, got bought out, and now they're a much better side. We've just got to hope that we go down, and as was said, we punch our way back up.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, we'll talk about some of the comments made on the meeting that we had on Thursday, because there is obviously an ambition there, and I suppose as fans we do have to maybe be a little bit patient. But we really this sort of next 6 months, I'd say, is absolutely pivotal to Wolves and Fosun's ownership of the football club as well. But we will come on to that. But I'm the same. I used to get so wound up if we lost football matches, and it would, like you said, very similar. It would ruin my week. But yeah, I think there is just that numb feeling. You're almost frustratingly going into the game expecting the end result before the ball's even kicked. Whereas under Nuno, I was going into the game, if it was Manchester United, whether it was Chelsea, whether it was Norwich at the time or whatever, I just felt we'd go to Molineux, win those football matches. I always had that feeling. Whereas at the moment, you just don't know what Wolverhampton Wanderers are going to turn up, really. I
think that's a really, really good point just on that, though, Dave. Like, that's another thing that we've lost massively, and it wasn't even an arrogance at the time. It was just confidence. Yeah. You just knew that, going to Molineux, that we were going to give whoever it was a game. We weren't scared of anybody coming to Molineux. Even the biggest teams, we kind of saw that as an opportunity to do something, and that's just another one of those things that we've lost. And I know we're going to come on to the meeting, but this is the point that we were trying to make to the the 5 guys from Wolves in the room the other day. But I'm sure we'll get on to that.
Yeah, I know. Well, and I mean, I sort of checked out when Bournemouth put their second goal in yesterday. At the end, they had a young lad, Ryan, come on, who's pretty highly rated from Brazil, and they're the sort of talents that I would love to see. I mean, we have had that Andre João Gomes, at the time there was a very similar sort of vibe around them, but he comes on and I have no doubt he'll go on and be a very, very solid Premier League player, because he came on, I think he got the assist for that second goal. Quality of the first goal was good, but I mean, like we alluded to, I think we gifted them possession for that as well. And when we can't put the ball in the back of the net ourselves, I think we hit absolutely everything we could towards that goal, and for whatever reason it didn't go in. On another day you have those chances, you end up winning the game 3 or 4 goals to nil. That's football. But like you both have sort of mentioned and alluded to there, it's just not been our year, not been our season at all, and that's what it is. But we move on. Another game at Molineux next weekend against Chelsea, who obviously had a great start under Liam Rossini, so we'll have to see how that goes as well. as we mentioned a couple of times then, and I'm sure we'll have a decent discussion about it now. Last Thursday, Sutty was there, Nui was there as well, and we were there alongside a number of the other fan groups, chatting with Nathan Shee, who is, of course, at the moment the interim chairman at Wolverhampton Wanderers. There were other members of the Wolves senior staff there, including Matt Jackson as well, Max Fitzgerald, Matt Wild and Dave Wood at the football club. There have been, obviously, our notes from it. There's been pieces of content on it. I've already spoken about it. I know Harry and Dazzling Dave have spoken about it and given their thoughts. But I think it is probably better it comes from us in terms of our feelings from the meeting. It's very easy for us to post on our social medias, but typed and written words sometimes can't come across in the best way. And when we've actually interacted with, obviously there is some people still not happy with the outcome of that meeting. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but whenever we open discussion and conversation with people, I think I don't know if you two would agree, I think people reason with it a little bit more as well. But so just get your overall thoughts on the meeting, because obviously you were very vocal, have been very vocal, still very vocal about the situation this football club is in. I hope you don't mind me saying, obviously been supporting Wolves a lot longer than I have. But so you've seen very bad times, you've seen good times as well. What was your overall take from that meeting?
Well, as people well know, I've been very vocal for nearly 5 seasons now at the gradual demise of us as a football club in the Premier League. The league tables do not lie. That's fact. You can say what you like. It's the best we've ever had. And look, years 2, 3 and 4 under Fosun were absolutely magical. And I'll never, ever forget them, and I'll never knock them for it. But since then, it has been gradual decline. Almost you could describe it as corporate decline. It's been dragged down, sell big, buy cheap, and that eventually catches up with you. As I said to them the other day at that meeting, looking him blank in the face, this will not work. And every club that does it eventually will get found out, because your cheap options will fail. And that is what has happened here. I wanted a meeting with Jeff Shee. I've messaged Jeff Shee for years and never got one response off him. And it just became a bit of a game for me in the end. Turning up outside Molineux with big flags on a Monday afternoon and stuff like this. And unfortunately for me, his demise came before I got a meeting with him, which was sort of a bittersweet moment, really. So when I had the option the offer to go and meet the new chairman, although a lot of people have slagged me off for doing it, I was never going to turn that down, because I wanted to look him straight in the eye and give him my opinion on how this football club's been run. And you two were there, and I've tried to explain to everybody on every social media platform what was said. I think I've answered every single question that's been asked of me. And let me tell you now, some of them are incredible. And I try my hardest to be honest with you. But as you know, it was not fine bone china and Victoria sponge. It was quite sort of, I wouldn't go as far as heated at times, but it was robust, let's put it that way. And they were left in no uncertain terms that talk is cheap and everything you're saying to us sounds fantastic, but it's your actions that you will be judged on. And our only weapon in our armoury is protest. And if this doesn't work, what you're telling us, or we don't see it working, then make no mistake about it, we will be protesting, and it will be bigger and harder than ever. And as I told him, and you two were sat next to me, you will not like it if that happens. Let me assure you now, it's horrible, and it will be the worst feeling in the world for you to have to report back to China and tell them it's all kicked off again. So we will judge you by your words. Everybody had a say. Everybody was robust. Things we thought we'd never get, we got, i.e. fans forums and stuff like that. Never in all our worlds did we think he'd agreed to sit down to up to 200 people with open questioning. And let me just say as well, none of our questions were scripted. They didn't know our questioning. We just asked our questions. And for me, it was a very honest, frank meeting from our point of view. We don't know if they're being honest with us, but we know that we've put our points over very robustly. And I will still answer everybody's questions on social media as the best I can, but obviously come on here to just say, trust us, we're not there to get brownie points. We're supporters, and we want the best for this football club, just like you do. We want some glory years back. We're not going in there for brownie points and to try and make friends. They're not our friends, but we do need some kind of dialogue with them. So if we're going to protest with them, we've got actual people we can go to now and say, hey, you haven't stuck to your part of the bargain, so guess what? We're up for the fight, and we will. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously, for obvious reasons, we weren't able to record the meeting. But, nothing was off the record. Everything we asked them, they gave us somewhat of an answer for. Obviously, with some questions, which we will probably talk about, we probably didn't get the answers we wanted. We had a little bit more clarity on things. Obviously, the Trust had their own meeting previously, the week before we met with Nathan Shee. We built on a lot, and I think we, no disrespect to that Trust meeting, because I think it was still very, very useful. I think we got more out of that meeting as well. A lot of people saying, Kieran, we've heard everything that he said before in terms of they already knew everything, where I actually think there was a lot of things new that came out of that. A lot of promises, which, of course, are still a little bit early to say whether that will come to fruition, but like Sutty said there, it was respectable, but at the same time, we very much did get our points across, and we tried to, and we pushed them very, very hard on certain points as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing. I mean, I had more people speak to me yesterday in the South Bank, asking me, how it really was, and how it went down. And I guess the one bit that I want to, and I said this to everybody yesterday, is please do not feel like we were sat there like puppies drinking in every single word that they were saying, or even that there was more talking done by those guys, because a lot of the talking was done by us. I have to take my hat off to Sutty for going on almost a 5-minute passionate rant that was absolutely needed and deserved, for the guys at Wolves to be able to hear. And I wish that I could give the kind of context and feeling that was behind that, and how much the club were actually listening to what Sutty had to say. And Sutty isn't the only one that came across really, really passionate during that. I think everybody in that room, there was 10 of us, all had our moments where we kind of put our point across. And this is our love. It means so much more. And Dan from Fancast made a really good point that we'll be here long after you're gone. What matters now is what's happening right now, and we need to make sure that you're here to fix that, because you are the custodians of our club, but you won't be here forever, whereas we will. So yeah, I think it was a really, really good discussion. I think Nathan comes across as incredibly human compared to the stuff that we kind of seen from Jeff. He admits himself that he's got a lot to learn about running a football club. I don't think he was shy in the fact that this is something completely new for him, but he felt it came across quite passionate that he wants this to be successful. He wants us to do well. He's spent an awful lot of time with staff at the club to kind of go around and make sure that his presence is known, and that that he actually cares for what's going on at Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club. And I've been called all names under the sun. We said as we walked out of that meeting that we were going to be getting pelters on social media, and a lot of it is faceless accounts, and it's easy to just brush off. But what I would say is, for all of those comments that we get, if anything, it just makes us feel like we want to continue doing what we're doing and make our voices known. And we're no better than any other Wolves fans out there. I do not think that for a second. we've just got a voice, and we've decided to stand up and have a voice. And one of the big things that we got out of it is enabling everybody else to have a voice as well. So the fans forum that's going to come, up to 200 people, they said that they want to do it regularly. That's not us saying that we want to be there. Like, I've got no want to be there. I've had my turn, I've had my say, and I've let them know exactly how I feel. I want to open it up so that there's other fans like us who are just as passionate and just as emotional about everything that's going on to have their say. So that's a big win from my point of view. But yeah, I guess what I would say is, it's really, really difficult for us to be able to put down on a 3-page PDF exactly what was said and what was done. And like there are things that are potentially missing off there. There was discussion about the stadium, and there was different things which we can cover now. There's no bones about hiding anything. We just wanted to cover the really, really high level points that we thought were important. So yeah. I think I'll stop there for now.
No, that's fine. Yeah, no, I agree. There was nothing, and I think that's why it's good that obviously we're talking about it now. I know Ryan will do his show as a live show later, so he'll get interaction. Dave on Always Wolves will do his show, and he'll get more questions. But I don't think any of us have shied away from questions. I said once the meeting was out and with the minutes, if there's anything anybody wants to know, let me know. And I don't think there's anything there that we didn't cover that needed to be covered. So stadium is one that I know it wasn't on our original notes because there wasn't a huge amount to report back in regards to the stadium, but we put a lot of pressure on about the stadium as well. And Nathan said that is on the long-term vision. We all want Molineux to look absolutely gorgeous, and it looks gorgeous as it is, but we know in certain areas it probably needs a little bit of work doing to it, and they know that. But unfortunately with the stadium, that's not anything that can be done overnight. That is a long-term thing. It costs a lot of money as well. And I think with how the club and the state the club has been left in, and let's say, I know it's under the Fosun umbrella, I know it's Fosun, but ultimately it was from a different guy completely. Nathan Shee's a fresh, younger set of eyes on this project as well. We need to give him that little bit of time to do something and see what he can come up with over the next few months or so. And he's aware of it. Like I said, like you said there, Kieran, as well, we all got our points across. Sutty gave a brilliant, speech across to them, which they took on board as well. When there were certain things that they didn't agree with, they came back at us as well. We were talking about Jeff's false lies and promises. Matt Jackson, to be fair, he didn't quite understand what we were talking about, but we told him straight, and so he understood the situation. And that's why it was good. I think it was a constructive conversation as well. But yeah, like I said, I think we've all opened dialogue, and if there's ever any questions, we've come back. A lot of us, I know Sutty, you've responded to a lot of people as well. So if people do have questions, let us know, and we'll come back to you. If it wasn't discussed, we'll say why it wasn't, or what was missed out, or what was said. Nothing was off the table, nothing was off the record. Just because it wasn't in potentially our final notes doesn't mean it wasn't discussed, because I think a lot of it was, from recruitment to staff. Another big plus is, they confirmed all their members of staff really should be keeping their jobs as well. What was your overall opinion of Nathan Sutty? I know obviously you didn't get the opportunity to meet Jeff, but like Kieran said, as a human, on a human level, seems a lot more with it, I suppose, than what Jeff was.
Most definitely. For me, clearly an intelligent man, young man. I think was he 32 or something like that?
Early 30s, yeah.
He gave us his career basically, and he'd never failed anywhere, according to him. Never failed anywhere. I won't go into what I said to him, but he did actually say to us, "I've not come here to fail. Failure would appear on my CV, and I don't want failure on my CV." Look, this guy's an intelligent guy, and he's basically now got the people on board within the club to do their relevant jobs, where before, as we all know, and as basically we were told the other night, they weren't allowed to do their jobs. Now they are. We can only go now and let them do their jobs and see what the outcome is. Don't be fooled, though, people watching this, thinking this week we're going to rocket up the Premier League, because the rot is so deeply inset within this club. It is going to take a little bit of time. Obviously, there's a lot of militant people out there who, a little bit like me, are cheesed off with it and are saying to me, we should never stop protesting. If we hadn't stopped protesting, I don't think we'd have got that meeting. Now, I know people are sceptical about the meeting, but like I've just said, we've got to have some sort of dialogue. We've got to be able to tell them that we're gonna protest, and make sure that they know that we ain't for messing with if that happens. Now, protest is certainly not off the table. We've all said this. We said this to them the other night. If you think just by bringing us in here that's it now, we've had a bit of an upturn in form, although we've had a bit of a dip the last couple of weeks, that's going to sort of pacify us all, and we're all going to be, oh, well, everything's rosy again now. I've just had, tea and cake with Nathan, and it was nice. But we're not. We clearly told them that protest is our only weapon, and we will use it. It's up to you now. We've put the ball in your court. It's up to you now to prove to everybody associated with this football club, from top to bottom, supporters in every stand, that you're taking this serious. When we go down, 'cause it's not an if, let's just be realistic. We're going down. You've got to get us back up, because this is no good to you in the Championship. No good whatsoever, because you have halved the value of the club at a minimum. So it's only good to you in the Premier League. You know what he said. You know what Matt Jackson said. I'll let you tell him what he said, but they are pretty confident.
Yeah.
Wow.
That
I think.
Go on, Keith.
Sorry, I was just going to say, like, on the because that's probably the one thing that I've had more than anything is people saying, we had them on the ropes, we were doing all this protesting, and then suddenly it's just stopped because you've got a tea and cake meeting with the club. And I think, for me, it's obviously one of the most frustrating things to see, because we didn't just give up because of this. There were a number of reasons why, we decided at that point to kind of stop. And obviously Nathan coming in and ultimately achieving one of the goals in getting rid of Jeff Shee was a huge win. And let's not sugarcoat that any other way. That was a huge win, and that was achieved by fan power, not by any particular person within the protest or the protest groups. That was fan power that achieved that. The 15-minute protest, and then the continued stuff that we did after that. So let me just make no bones about it. If we need to go back to protesting, there's nothing that we've lost here. It took us as Old Gold Pack and everybody that's as part of this 3 days to organise that 15-minute boycott. You cannot tell me that people won't join that again. People are, atting me on socials and saying, "Oh, that's it, it's done now. We'll never be able to get that up again, and we'll never be able to get that power back." We've got that power, and the club are very, very, very aware of what we can do. And I don't think, I think that there is a little bit of, they are worried about what's possible from a fan power perspective. And I'd rather people look at the perspective at it from that perspective, that, the reason that we've got a meeting is because of what we've done, not because they want to calm everything down, not because they want to do anything else, or they want to stop all of these protests. Obviously they do want to stop all of these protests, but they're also even more aware now that that's there. It's in our back pocket. It's ready and waiting to go. The feeling at Molineux yesterday at the end of when the second goal went in, the mass exodus from Molineux, you can't tell me that there's no ill feeling there and that people wouldn't jump up and do something all over again if needed. So what I would say is, like I said, we're no better than anybody else. We're just speaking up and we're just making a point. If people want to join us and do that, then they're absolutely more than welcome to do it. And I'm absolutely push people to, ask us questions and to get into our acts and do that. But be a little bit more respectful. Come on, man. Like, you don't need to be. We're just Wolves fans at the end of the day. We're all Wolves fans and we're all fighting for the same thing here. There's nobody bootlicking. There's nobody doing all of that. we're doing this because we care about Wolverhampton Wanderers, not because we want to have a tea and cake party with Nathan and co.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly say, Dave, if you ever go out, I hope you never have to within your jobs, but if you ever suffer any sort of industrial action where your union asks you to go out and strike, yes, you go out and strike. That's your protest, but you still have dialogue with your employer, and it is no different to that. You go backwards and forwards to the table all the time in dialogue, and your weapon is to go on strike in whatever job you do. It is absolutely no different to that. You've got to speak to them, and your first port of call is with the last protests and the flags and all this sort of stuff, which we've all seen. That was to get this meeting. Without the protests, unfortunately, you'd still have Big Jeff in charge. I have no doubt whatsoever, because they would have just sailed along as was, and he would never have met us, and we'd still be in the same position. But now we've got a chink of light where we've got somebody who's accepting and seeing us and speaking to us. Doesn't have to be us all the time. Make that clear. It does not have to be us. Stick your head above the parapet like we all have, and if you want to demonstrate, kick it off. It's your right. Doesn't always have to be us. But I tell you now, if you do it, we'll back you.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I had a conversation with somebody this morning about the protests. And I think there's some people may think we're maybe big-headed about it, but I have no doubt that Jeff Sheet, like you said, Sutty, I think without the protest, there is a massive chance that he would still be the chairman of this football club. I think that is a huge reason. And I think the BBC WM interview, we almost made his bed. Without the protest, he would not have done that interview, by the way. We made his bed, he lay in it, and that was it, and that was the end of him, really. So I have full belief that was a massive reason behind that. And sort of going back to what you said in terms of, people say promises and things like that. They were very, very quick to say, we're going to make sure that we are back in the Premier League. Or, well, they said we will be a Premier League team in 18 months. I think there was obviously that bit of optimism internally at Wolves that they may well still keep us in the Premier League. But I think realistically, they know there probably is going to be a season in the Championship. But they said, a couple of them said there will be big spenders in the Championship, and they will do everything they can to make sure we come straight back up into the Premier League. And I don't know.
I think that's another really key point as well, just to make on that. One of the other key points that we all said, again at different points, was we've heard stuff like this before. Actions are the key that we need from this. All your words, although they are great to kind of hear, and all these promises that you're giving us, that's absolutely fine. I think Sutty made the point, and I definitely made the point that Wolves fans aren't kind of shy in having bad news or honesty about how things are going on. We'd rather hear how things are and what's expected, and we can deal with it. We're not shy to bad news. We've had more bad times than we've had good times, let's be honest. So the one thing that we made really, really clear was actions speak louder than words. And they've come out now. They've said that, we'll be big spenders in the Championship, and then in 18 months' time, we'll be a Premier League team again. They've made a rod for their own back. If they don't spend big, when we go down, then that's another thing that we can hold them to account on. And they were very clear that, they don't want to be seen as liars. They don't want to be seen to be making false promises. These are all words that came directly from them, during this meeting, to 10 Wolves fans that are going to very vividly remember every single word that was said during that meeting. Yeah. And, we will hold them to account on that. But at the same time, I actually believe that, now that Jeff has gone, that there's a little bit more freedom about, some of the staff and what they can actually say. There's a little bit more feeling around, we potentially can turn this round, whether that's this season or next season in the Championship. So, yeah, I guess just want to make, some of those points. These are the points that we can't make on a 3-page PDF. We can't show you the feeling behind, the words that were said. We can't tell you the emotion that was in that room and, all of that stuff. But please, trust us when we say that it was an emotional meeting in terms of we made our points really, really valid, and they were took on board.
Yeah. Do you think, Kieran, did you get the impression from Nathan that his mission is to make sure Wolves are back in the Premier League, and if he fails, then he probably won't be at the football club anymore?
100%.
Yeah.
And I think, he pretty much said that in no uncertain terms, that, if he's not here, then he's very much aware that it's his neck that's on the line. I think he was quite open in the fact that, he's got a lot to learn, but that he feels that some of the people around him are the people that are going to be able to advise him in the right way. He didn't necessarily say that they are the only people that he'll need to kind of do that. He was open to looking at different things. But I also think that, people need to be a little bit more open to kind of what he wants to do. Like he's only been in the job for 7 weeks now. I think it was six weeks when we were talking to him. So I think it had just gone over to 7 weeks at the weekend. I don't think he's been in the country for a lot of that time because of visas and everything as well. So look, I know that we're in a really, really bad position, and I know that things aren't looking great for us, but I take people at face value. I very much wear my heart on my sleeve with a lot of things, and some of the things that we were asking him, I was looking him dead in the eye as I was talking to him about different things, and he was looking back, and saying these things, actively looking at every single person that had something to say during that meeting. And call me a bootlicker, call me whatever you want. I don't care. All I was during that time was a passionate Wolves fan trying to get my point across to somebody that doesn't necessarily love Wolves as much as we all do, making my point on why we're here, what we want, and where we want to go with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. There will be some questions about the meeting as well, so we'll go on to that. Another one that we did try and put big pressure on, and I think we will continue to do so. So watch your spaces on tickets. Discussions have started within the club and the relevant people there, but as it stood at the time, like Kieran just alluded to, there's only so much Nathan could have done in that 6 weeks. Apparently, he hadn't had opportunity to sit down with them and discuss those ticket prices, but we made it very clear to them that the prices need to come down. We tried to push them to guarantee they were going to come down, but that's just something they wanted to be fair with Nathan on and have a discussion with him. But I'm hoping that, once our fate is sealed in regards to more than likely going down to the Championship, we can have much more of a say on that. And I'm hoping that they listen to that, because that was a very passionate part of the meeting as well. And that's one way, I suppose, could be an apology to the fans with how badly this club has run. And a huge tap-in, I would say. If they can bring those prices down on par with some of the other teams in the local area in the same division, and I'm talking £200-300, which is a big jump. That would be a huge way to try and get fans back on side to join the fight again for next season. Let's jump on to some of the questions, though, lads. We'll sort of switch between meeting questions, football questions, I'm sure, as well. Amar's Music Show normally sends us the questions in. As unlikely as it is, if a miracle happens and we go on to win the FA Cup and obviously go on to get European football, do you think that would allow us to keep some of our better players for next season, or do you think it wouldn't make any difference whatsoever? Sutty, what do you reckon?
No.
They'll be gone anyway.
Look, we know they're going to be gone. It's not just about playing. What you get? Is it the Europa League you get into if you win the FA Cup now?
Yeah, I think it is the Europa. Yeah,
it is, isn't it? The Europa League. I think some of these players that we've got individually have got delusions of grandeur. Think they're slightly better than what they are, and I think that they will move on, and hopefully we get as much money as possible, because it does actually seem now, I know this is going a bit on a tangent, that we're digging our heels in for the proper money for players now. From what we were told the other night, we have undersold players in the past, and they're not doing it anymore. They'll hold out to the death to get the right money. But I can see, we had this discussion, didn't we? Matt Jackson asked me to reel off who I thought would go. And he basically agreed that, we cannot keep these players if we're not in the Premier League, because agents. Agents push them to go in a certain direction, and we're not going to keep them. You'll know the 6 or 7 who it is, and they'll be gone. As long as we can get enough money for them, we'll have a war chest. It's as simple as that. For championship standard, we will have a war chest, and they did say that they will punch their way out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we look at the transfers today. But I mean, as we speak right now, it looks like Strand Larson, 43 million up to 48 million going to Crystal Palace. I mean, at the start of January anyway, if someone was offering you that money, you would have snapped their arm off, I think. But that does show, you know, in regards to, I think, them digging their heels in a little bit more in terms of valuations. But going back to Amar's question, if Wolves were to go down anyway, I mean, it's public knowledge that wages are going to go down. I don't know if that changes if you're in European football, but there was quite a discussion about that as well on Thursday in regards to that, because, you know, any of us in our jobs, if we were going to be given a 50-ish% wage reduction, you know, it's massive for anybody's livelihood. And, you know, regardless of whether you get European football or not, if you're in the second tier, players are still going to want to move on.
Yeah, and I think there's some like valid points made by Matt Jackson around that, about people potentially going to the World Cup with 50% of their wages being cut. So, I mean, it'd be incredible if we were to win the World Cup.
I wish.
That would be amazing if we were to win the FA Cup. But yeah, I said to a couple of people around me yesterday in the South Bank, it just seems like half the team don't want to be here. They're not up for the fight. They're not up for the challenge. They definitely do not want to be playing Championship football next season. I think it says a lot when obviously Rob Edwards is coming right up to the South Bank and the players are stood 30 yards behind him. You know, they're scared of what's going on. They're not used to, you know, this kind of battle. And I'm not saying that's all of them, but you know, the majority of them is that way. So, short answer to that question, no.
Yeah,
they're going anyway.
There you go. JC, he says a couple of questions similar. He says, how much of a honeymoon period do Fosun and She Mark II get? Again, Sutty, I sort of mentioned earlier, it's hard at the moment because we know the situation we're in. We know the hole that the club are in at the moment, but for me, they probably do have to have until or Nathan at least has to have until the summer to see if he can stick to his promises in regards to recruitment and how we can set ourselves up for next season.
I think the remainder of this season, obviously, is going to be a real tough watch, isn't it?
Yeah,
we're all sort of shoving each other into the ground. None of us really want to be there to a certain degree. What will become really, really difficult is if you look at the fixtures, Villa could relegate us.
Ooh.
At home.
I've had enough of this podcast already.
And that could be the catalyst of real unrest, I think. And that's where they've got to really show their hand. Not just to us to relay the message. I think that'll be the time when he has to go public at some point and say, look, it's been poor, but we will bring you good times back. I think that would be the catalyst. If they did that, if we got relegated that day against Villa, I think it would turn. So, but I'm with you. The window shuts tomorrow.
Yeah.
Monday, isn't it? As of speaking. Unless they've got loads of rabbits up their sleeve that they're going to pull out and surprise us all with, what are they going to do now? They're in a funny situation, aren't they? They'll either sell everybody now and buy ready for the championship next year, which would give you effectively a really long pre-season, and get a team gelled together that's going to start next year. But like he said to us, he can't. It's difficult to do that because it's admitting that you're relegated already. Now, there's not a chairman in the world, anywhere in club football, is going to admit in January that you're relegated. he can't, can he? He can't. We know, and we did say it to him, we're down, and he went, no, we're not yet. But we know we're down, but I suppose he's got to be given to the summer. And if the summer doesn't turn out very well, then yeah, that's when he is going to get absolutely ripped to shreds.
Yeah, I think between now and August, there's a lot of things that can be done anyway for him to sort of try and get fans on side, or at least keep fans on side. I think obviously season tickets we've already mentioned. There will be somewhat of communication if and when the fan forum starts. I would hope. I mean, we haven't got any definitive dates. I would hope that's probably sooner rather than later. If it is before the season ends, I mean, it may be a difficult listen for him, but I think that could be a few things, to start to get the ball rolling. I think he needs to. Everyone's expectation of Fosun at the moment, and the Fosun's reputation in Wolverhampton is rock bottom, and he's got a big job of trying to get that reputation back up, the relationship, build the bridges with supporters as well. So I think there is that. There isn't even a honeymoon period for some fans. Some fans don't even want to know. So for him, he's got a lot of things that he needs to get right to get fans on side. Like I said, season ticket price is an open goal. The Villa game you mentioned there, Sutty, I think as it stands, is that a Friday night as well? That would be an absolute horrible evening, if that were to be the case.
Yeah.
Let's just hope we get some points on the board before then and, delay.
If we carry on as we are now and we don't pick up many points, I think that's the game that could relegate us.
Oh, dear.
I was having an all right Sunday until you said...
Sorry.
Yeah. Do you agree, Key, with that in terms of Nathan Shee and the time he gets?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, he does need... he's not a miracle worker. He quite openly admitted that that he didn't necessarily agree with all of the decisions that had been made previously. He said that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So I do think that we need to give him a set amount of time. And as I kind of mentioned a couple of minutes ago, he's not been in the country that long, yet he's still met every single member of staff at Molineux, and he's made the point that he's here and he's going to be trying to turn things around. So yeah, I think he does need that little bit of time. It's going to be a bumpy road. I don't think that he is under any illusions that that's not the case. If we are to get relegated by Villa, then yeah, it'll be a rocky night. But hopefully now we can start to see some kind of, as you said, chinks of light really on where we're going to be going, and hopefully get some players that want to be here. And kind of move on from there and get rid of the deadwood that aren't interested in playing in the Championship or want to be around anymore. I'm more than happy for them to, jump out the door. That's fine. If you don't want to be here, don't be here. Yeah. So, yeah, I think we need to give Nathan a little bit of time, but at the same time, we need to start seeing something, some shining lights come through. And I think, as you said, season ticket pricing is definitely one of those. And another point just on the meeting really quickly around the season ticket pricing is, we were really, really open about what we want, what we expect. And, I think if Nathan was or had had a look at the pricing that had been put together or, what they're thinking of, then I think, we might have been able to come out with something. But they heard us loud and clear around what we want and what we expect on that. So it's a quick win for them. Yeah,
definitely. In regards to transfers, I mean, you talk about sort of preparing for the Championship and so on. As we speak right now, I'm hoping it's still obviously the case by the deadline. Angel Gomez is one player. It'll be very interesting to see if that option that's reported does include him obviously staying in the Championship, because basically he knows what he's signing up for. But Adam Armstrong, fee agreed. He's set to join, it looks like. For me, Sutty, that is the type of transfer that I know there is still going to be a section of the fan base, because ultimately we all still want to feel like we are mid-table pushing for European football. So Adam Armstrong's not the most attractive name that you've got coming into Wolverhampton Wanderers. But if you look at signing a ready-made Championship level player and a player who should easily, well, I say easily, but should be getting you 10, 15 plus goals next season in the Championship. He's almost got 6 months preparation, and he's going to be there on the first day of pre-season for Wolves next season.
Yeah, it's not probably the player I'd have gone for. I don't know who I'd have gone for, to be honest, because I've not really taken a lot of notice of Championship football up until the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Look, we're shopping in a certain window now. We offered when Neves, Jota, Bolly, all of these players, Sace, were at the club. Elder Costa, they had a vision and they were sold a dream. Unless you go straight back into that sort of 8 years ago, you're shopping in a certain window and you're not going to get them big name players. And I don't think they've got that dream anymore as such. They want us in the Premier League, but I think reality kicked in at a certain point and they thought, this is expensive, this game. Yeah. And what are we actually getting out of it now? I've said this many a time. Global advertising is huge for them. It won't be quite so big in the Championship. So they've got to get us back in the Premier League. Adam Armstrong, what does he average in the Championship? 15 goals a season, something like that.
Probably something like
that. So yeah, he is the kind of player that you're going to have to go for. I mean, if you can keep the likes of Tolu at the club, who he could feed off, but he'll not be the only centre forward that we sign. You know, there'll be others coming as well of different profiles. But I suppose to a certain degree, he probably is proven, apart from his little stint at our illustrious neighbours down the road who sent him back early off a loan.
Yeah, he got 11 goals already for an average Southampton side this season, so it's not an awful return this season as well.
The thing is, if you'd never heard of him, Dave, and you said this kid is averaging 11 to 18 goals a season over the last 4 seasons in the Championship, you would say, why aren't we looking at him?
Yeah,
that's fact. You would say that. So, you know, that is Strand Larsen going to be such a huge miss? Because I don't think he is. And I've got the truck running outside because if they need a taxi for him, I'll take him straight down to Croydon now. For 48 million quid, Jesus Christ, I'll take that now. So I'll put the diesel in for free.
They've done very well with that deal as well. Tom Martin, since Jeff left, can you identify a single act taken by Fosun to improve the current situation? There appears to be fine words and attempts to butter up content creators, but that's it. Key, what's your take on
that? Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the cake was lovely the other night. The tea was even better. I'm joking. I think the one thing, it was always going to be somebody else from China that came in to replace Jeff. That was always going to be the case. Like I said, from our point of view, the win was obviously getting rid of Jeff because, you know, as poisonous as it seemed to us on the outside, I think we were all hearing, you know, different stories from internally at Wolves around how things were. So I think we do have to look at Nathan coming in as a positive based on how he's acted so far, based on, you know, how he's come across and the openness to be able to kind of come out and meet with us. I was saying to a couple of people yesterday, ultimately Nathan has done more in the 6-7 weeks from coming out and being open about things than Jeff probably did in a lot of the kind of 10 years that he was here, 9-10 years that he was here. So I want to look at it from a glass half full perspective that, you know, we've got Nathan in and he'll be able to kind of do what he wants and put his own kind of stamp on things being good. You know, it would be all, you know, rosy if we were to go back to the days when Nuno was here and Laurie Dalrymple was here and we had that kind of communication and openness. And again, that's another point that we raised at the meeting the other night. But, you know, let's not be naive in the fact that, you know, you're never going to get something exactly the way that it was previously. So he's going to have his own ideas. He's going to have his own stamp that he wants to put on different things. And right now we need to give him that opportunity to be able to do that, whilst obviously being very aware of the things that has been promised, the things that have been said to us, and obviously bearing that in mind. So, yeah, glass half full. I think that's the kind of shining light, if you like, that's kind of come out of the last few weeks. But it'll only be time that will tell exactly how this goes.
Yeah, I think most of us have said it. We made them aware of it. Actions speak louder than words. We made them aware how difficult the Championship was as well. You know, when they were talking about taking it by storm next season, I think that was quite a big words coming from a number of us around the table saying, I think, you know, Matt Jackson will be aware of that. He knows that. And yeah, I'm hoping that, you know, we sort of alluded to the fact that we've heard whispers from, you know, internally at the club that things seem to have improved, just the atmosphere of the place. And I really think it will bring out the best in some of these members of staff that were close to Jeff as well. Like, this is Matt Jackson's first role, taking the lead on these transfers. He's worked in a lot of different parts of football. He knows how agents work. He knows how transfers work. And, you know, by the end of the window, he may well show that. If he sells and somehow gets Strand Larson gone for 43 plus 5, he's bringing in Adam Armstrong, who, let's face it, should probably score more than one Premier League goal between now and the end of the campaign for a quarter of that price. And then he's already got his ready-made forward for next season as well. I think that's a very, very decent start, considering how difficult this transfer window is going to be for him as well. It's still very, very early days. We may come back to eat some of these words come the summer, but I just hope that, you know, the club are going in the right direction, and from the vibe of that meeting, they are doing that. And I'm hoping they will start to listen to fans more. And there is a platform for anybody listening to this. You will be able to go and have a say, you know, and even if you're, you know, not confident enough maybe to go to these meetings, put your questions across to other people that will go to those meetings, and make sure your questions and opinions are aired as well, because you have got that opportunity anyway. But I think that's all, lads, for today's show. I really, really appreciate you both coming on. I know it's busy times. You've both got families. You've both got possibly different shows and podcasts that you're going to jump on as well. But Sutty, thanks for jumping on. Make sure we catch up again soon.
No problem, mate. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, Key. As always, mate, it's good for you to get another Talking Wolves cap, and I'm sure we'll see you very soon as well.
Yeah, cheers. Appreciate it.
Perfect, mate. Anyone listening on YouTube, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and follow us on all the socials at Talking Wolves, so make sure you keep up to date with all the latest news, especially with transfer deadline day coming up tomorrow. As always, guys, enjoy the rest of your week, and we will be back next week following, fingers crossed, a positive result against Chelsea. But we'll catch you on the next one.